When you wake up in the morning, before the world starts demanding pieces of you, your time, your attention, your energy, there's a moment, often just a few seconds long, when you are completely yourself. No roles, no expectations, no mask. It's the raw, unfiltered you, and in that space, before the noise takes over, you face a simple but profound question. Do you actually like who you are? That question is the beginning of everything. Because the truth is, the way you see yourself defines the way you move through the world. You can have all the intelligence, all the opportunity, all the external success, but if you're at war with yourself inside, everything else eventually collapses. See, true strength doesn't come from dominance, control, or the illusion of perfection. It begins with acceptance. Self-acceptance is not weakness, it's the recognition that you are both flawed and capable, broken and becoming, limited yet limitless. It's the paradox that defines human existence. You cannot grow if you deny what you are, and you cannot heal if you refuse to look at your wounds. But most people spend their lives running from themselves. They distract, they numb, they compare, they overcompensate. They keep themselves busy enough so they never have to sit alone with their thoughts. But the cost of that avoidance is enormous. Because what you don't face, you can't transform. So what does it mean to truly accept yourself? It's not indulgence, and it's not an excuse. It's not saying, I am who I am, and I'll never change. No, that's complacency, not love. Self-acceptance is the foundation from which genuine change is possible. It's saying, this is where I am, this is who I've been, and I'm willing to face it honestly, without denial, without shame. You can't correct a flaw if you refuse to admit it exists. You can't heal a wound if you keep pretending it's not there. And yet, that's exactly what so many people do. They pretend. They wear confidence like armor, hoping no one notices the cracks beneath. But real confidence doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from embracing your imperfections and knowing they don't define your worth. When you accept yourself, you stop living reactively. You stop being controlled by guilt, resentment, and the desperate need for approval. You begin to act consciously rather than compulsively. You start to ask better questions, not why am I not like them, but what is my next best step? And that's where real progress begins, not in comparison, but in direction. Think of it this way. You are a complex being made of chaos and order, potential and limitation. Self-love is the art of balancing those two forces. It's acknowledging that your life will never be entirely stable or predictable, but you still have the ability to create meaning within that instability. When you stop rejecting the parts of yourself that feel messy or uncomfortable, you start integrating them. And integration, not perfection, is what brings peace. The opposite of self-acceptance is self-rejection, and that's a dangerous place to live. Because when you reject yourself, you unconsciously seek acceptance elsewhere. You chase validation from the world, from people, from achievement, from attention. You become dependent on external approval to fill an internal void. But no amount of applause can quiet the inner voice that says, I'm not enough. That voice doesn't disappear until you confront it. Until you look it in the eyes and say, I see you. I know where you came from, but you don't define me anymore. And that confrontation takes courage. It takes radical honesty, because self-love is not a feeling that magically appears, it's a process. It's built on small acts of discipline, awareness, and forgiveness. It's doing what you know is good for you, even when it's uncomfortable. It's keeping promises to yourself, so you can trust yourself again. Every time you act with integrity, you reinforce your self-worth. Every time you betray yourself by lying, by avoiding, by settling, you weaken that bond. So, the first step toward real self-love is truth. Tell yourself the truth about what you want, about what's hurting you, about what you're avoiding, because the truth is uncomfortable, but it's liberating. It strips away illusion and reveals the path forward. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You begin to realize that you've been the only one holding yourself back, not your circumstances, not your past, but your unwillingness to face yourself fully. There's a concept in psychology called shadow integration. It means acknowledging the darker aspects of your personality, your anger, jealousy, fear, laziness, without letting them dominate you. You don't destroy the shadow, you integrate it. Because those parts contain valuable energy, the anger you suppress might hold your assertiveness, the fear you avoid might hold your wisdom, the sadness you hide might hold your compassion. When you reject these parts, you become fragmented. But when you face them with love, you become whole. Wholeness, that's what self-love ultimately leads to. It's not the shallow positivity often sold online. It's the deep understanding that you can hold both light and dark within you and still be worthy of love. It's realizing that your value isn't dependent on how productive you are, how attractive you look, or how much approval you get. It's inherent, and when you understand that, everything changes. You stop needing to prove your worth. You start creating from it. Now, there's another profound truth that many overlook. You cannot pour from an empty cup. It's simple but often misunderstood. People think that loving themselves first means they're being selfish. But the opposite is true. If you don't take care of yourself, you become a burden to yourself and to others. You become drained, resentful, exhausted. You give out of guilt instead of love, and what you offer is contaminated with frustration. Imagine this: your life is like a well. Every act of kindness, every responsibility, every demand from others draws water from that well. But if you never refill it, if you never rest, reflect, nurture your own spirit, eventually it runs dry. And when that happens, you have nothing left to give. That's why self-love isn't indulgence, it's maintenance. It's the discipline of keeping your inner well full so you can contribute to the world without losing yourself in the process. Many people pride themselves on self-sacrifice, giving endlessly to others while neglecting their own needs. But that's not virtue, that's avoidance. Often, people pour into others because they're afraid to face their own emptiness. It feels safer to fix someone else's life than to confront your own lack of fulfillment. But that's a trap, because in the end, both people end up depleted, the giver and the receiver. Real love for yourself or others comes from a place of wholeness, not lack. You have to be filled with something before you can share it, and what fills you isn't external. It's not money, status, or admiration. Those are temporary hits of validation, like sugar, quick energy that crashes soon after. What truly fills you is purpose, integrity, growth, and gratitude. Those are the long-term fuels of a healthy soul. So how do you refill your own cup? You start by honoring your needs instead of dismissing them. That means allowing yourself to rest without guilt. It means saying no when something violates your peace. It means feeding your mind with wisdom and your body with care. It means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not drain your energy. And it means creating a daily structure that reflects your values, because love without structure becomes chaos, and discipline without love becomes tyranny. The balance of the two, that's where self-respect is born. And self-respect is the quiet confidence that sustains you when everything else falls apart. When you respect yourself, you no longer tolerate what diminishes you. You stop negotiating with your worth. You stop chasing after people who don't value you. Because you understand something fundamental, you set the tone for how others treat you by how you treat yourself. If you constantly disrespect your own boundaries, others will too. But when you carry yourself with self-love, you radiate something unspoken, a strength that commands respect, not through force but through presence. Self Love transforms your relationships because the way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. When you love yourself, you stop expecting others to complete you. You begin to see relationships as a sharing of two complete individuals, not a desperate attempt to fill emotional voids. You stop clinging, you stop begging for reassurance, you stop overgiving in the hope of being loved in return. Instead, you give freely because you already have abundance within. And there's a kind of paradox here that most people don't understand. The more you love yourself, the less self-centered you become, because when your needs are met internally, you're no longer desperate to take from others. You're free to give, to serve, to uplift, not out of obligation, but out of genuine overflow. You can listen without needing to be the center of attention. You can support without needing credit. You can love without fear of losing yourself. This is what it truly means to live from abundance rather than scarcity. Scarcity says, I'm not enough, so I must take. Abundance says, I am enough, so I can give. And that shift changes everything: your mindset, your relationships, your destiny. But getting there requires awareness. You must notice the ways you betray yourself daily, the small compromises, the quiet self-criticisms, the endless comparisons. Each one erodes your self, rust a little more. You start to believe that you don't deserve happiness unless you've achieved perfection. But perfection is a mirage. It moves farther away the more you chase it. You will never feel ready to love yourself if you wait until you're flawless. You must start now, messy, imperfect, uncertain, because that's when self-love matters most. There's something deeply powerful about choosing to love yourself when you have every reason not to. When you've failed, when you've disappointed yourself, when the world has told you that you're not enough, that's the moment that defines you. Because love, at its core, is not a reaction. It's a decision. It's saying, even now, I am worthy of care, of forgiveness, of a new beginning. That's not weakness. That's strength in its purest form. So remember this: self-love is not a destination, it's a daily practice. Every time you choose growth over guilt, you're practicing it. Every time you speak kindly to yourself after a mistake, you're reinforcing it. Every time you honor your boundaries, you're strengthening it. And every time you look in the mirror and decide to keep showing up, no matter how many times you've fallen, you're proving to yourself that love, especially self-love, is not something you wait to feel. It's something you choose to live, and that choice to love, to accept, to honor yourself is the foundation of all transformation. Because before you can lead, before you can build, before you can truly give, you must first learn to be at peace with the person you're becoming. And that peace begins with one simple but powerful truth: you are not broken, you are becoming whole.